Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation's annual awards program. I'm Jim Lukeman, the Foundation President and CEO, and we're honored to have you join us this evening here in the National Museum of the Marine Corps for this prestigious event tonight. Tonight, we recognize the achievements of individuals who preserve and promulgate our Marine Corps story through the arts. Each of our award recipients has made an extraordinary contribution to our Corps by capturing in written word or visually some aspect of what it means to be a Marine. In so doing, they have documented the legacy of our Corps, making the Marine Corps experience more accessible, more accurate, and more real to all Americans. Seated among you tonight are folks wearing a medallion on a red ribbon. Though they are this year's award recipients, so please take every opportunity tonight to congratulate them and ask them about their achievement. The Foundation remains steadfast in our mission to preserve and share the history, tradition, and culture of the Marine Corps and educate all Americans in its virtues. We could not be where we are today without the support and generosity of our donors. You make everything we do possible. So thank you. Our National Museum is really a fitting place to honor the recipients of the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation annual awards and recognize their achievements. This magnificent home for Marines and their families was built by you, our supporters, Marines, patriotic Americans, like-minded corporations and foundations, many of whom are represented here tonight. Thank you for this extraordinary gift to the American people. We're committed to ensuring that this magnificent showplace continues to grow for generations to come. At this time, I ask you to please stand for the presentation of the colors by Marines from Marine Barracks, Washington, D.C., and remain standing for our national anthem and the Marines' hymn, played by the brass quintet from the President's Own. My sincere thanks to the Color Guard and the Brass Quintet from Marine Barracks, Washington for their continued support of our evening awards ceremony. Thank you very much. A round of applause for them, please. Now, all of you here tonight are truly distinguished guests coming together for this special occasion. I would like, however, to individually recognize a few guests in attendance this evening. We're honored to have the 38th Commandant of the Marine Corps, General David H. Berger, and his wife, Donna. The Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major Troy Black. The U.S. Representative from the great state of Georgia and Marine, Dr. Richard McCormick, and his wife, Dr. Deborah Miller. Former Secretary of the Navy, Richard Spencer, and his wife, Polly. Former Commander of the U.S. Southern Command, Secretary of Homeland Security, and White House Chief of Staff, General John Kelly. The 35th Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps and the Chairman of our board, General Gary Thomas, and his wife, Catherine. The former Commander of U.S. Africa Command and member of our board, General Thomas Waldhauser, and his wife, Gail. We're also honored to have over 30 active and retired general and flag officers and members of the senior executive service with us tonight. Thank you all for being here. We have several Gold Star families with us this evening as well. The country owes you a debt of gratitude. We will not forget your loved one's service or your sacrifice. Thank you for honoring us with your presence tonight. I'd like to recognize 3 guests here tonight with ties to the 6th Marine Division on Okinawa. Neil McCallum, who was with the 29th Marine Regiment on Okinawa and injured on Sugarloaf Hill. Sally Shepard, the granddaughter of General Lemuel Shepard, Commanding General of the 6th Marine Division and our 20th Commandant of the Marine Corps. And Bob McGowan, whose father was shot twice on Okinawa and lived to tell the story. Thank you all for being with us. And there is one more World War II veteran, a veteran of Saipan and Tinian with us tonight, Major Rick Spooner. Good to see you again, sir. Now, the evening would not be possible without the generous support of our annual awards sponsors. Please join me in thanking our dinner sponsors this evening, General Dynamics, Colonel Rob and Lynn Hankey, and David and Deborah Humphreys. We have a number of table sponsors tonight who are listed in your program and on the screens beside me now. We also have a handful of additional sponsors who've helped make this night possible. Thank you to all of our sponsors for this evening's event. Thank you. I want to take a moment to recognize the directors, both past and present, on the Foundation's board, and one of our former CEOs as well is here tonight. These individuals have invested their time in the accomplishment of our mission at the Foundation, and we're grateful for that. At this time, I'd ask all of our former directors and current directors and our former CEO to stand and be recognized, please. Thank you. I want to thank the founders and Commandant Circle members for their loyalty and generous support. They've helped us accomplish the many goals of the Foundation, along with hundreds of thousands of Marines and Americans who've supported our mission with unprecedented loyalty and commitment since the founding of our Foundation. I also want to thank the 52 judges for their work in the awards program. They remain dedicated to the task of sorting through and reviewing each submission, ultimately making some very difficult decisions on the winner of our awards. I want to recognize our development and marketing team who worked behind the scenes on that awards program to streamline the effort and make it easier for all of us to do. Thank you all for that support on the award side. And we're really lucky to have a tremendous staff at the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation office. They all bring passion and energy and drive every day to what they do. They're really the engine that moves the foundation forward. And I just want to say to each and every one on the staff, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for what you do. And last but certainly not least, we thank all of you for your support. Everything we do at the foundation is the result of your generosity. It truly makes all the difference. We could not do it without you. Thank you. I'd now like to invite Rear Admiral Kerry Cash, Chaplain of the Marine Corps, to the lectern to deliver the invocation. Chaplain Cash.
I invite you to join me in prayer. Gracious Lord, by whom the meek are guided, the humble given discernment, and the brave strengthened, into your hands we commend this evening and all those we recognize tonight whose efforts are deserving of merit. O Lord, we are told in the scriptures that you are the giver of every good and perfect gift. Indeed, you delight to give gifts to those who will be wise and faithful stewards. For the gifts of writing and scholarship, gifts of intellect and insight, innovation and industry, art, and the reflection of truth, goodness, and beauty, we give you thanks, O Lord. We are grateful for all those, young and old, who by their talent and treasure display what is the best of our Marine Corps history, heritage, and culture. Bless these we honor tonight, the families who support them, the Marine Corps we love, and this great foundation for calling us to honor and safeguard a tradition of virtue without which our nation would not long endure. For this meal we're about to share, the diligent hands that prepared it, and the fellowship we will enjoy, we say, thank you, Lord, our Creator, Redeemer, and friend. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. So dinner service is going to begin now. We'll mix in the program with dinner, and we'll introduce the 2023 award winners shortly. Please enjoy the first course.
At this time, we would like to recognize the 2023 award winners. On the stage, we welcome back Major General Lukeman, President and CEO of the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation, General Gary Thomas, Chairman of the Board, and Mr. Brian Jones, Chair of the Awards Committee. We have another remarkable group of award recipients this year, selected from over 100 top-notch entries. Each winner's work profoundly communicates the experience and importance of the United States Marine Corps, while preserving a rich history that our Corps and nation should never forget. We are so proud of their hard work and dedication to their craft. In tonight's program, you will find each award winner's full biography. In addition to the medallions they are wearing this evening, each award recipient will receive a commemorative brick that will be placed in Semper Fidelis Memorial Park and a cash award. They have each made an extraordinary contribution to our Corps, and they honor the Marine for whom their award is named. Without further ado, here are the winners of this year's annual awards program. The Colonel Joseph Alexander Award recognizes a distinguished work of biographical or autobiographical literature about a Marine and is given in memory of Colonel Joe Alexander, historian, author, and longtime friend of the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation. This year's recipient is Lieutenant Colonel John Lang for his biography, A Final Valiant Act, The Story of Doug Dickey, Medal of Honor, which tells the story of Douglas Dickey, a 20-year-old Marine who saved the lives of at least 4 of his comrades by diving on a grenade during a desperate battle near the DMZ on Easter Sunday, 1967, earning a posthumous Medal of Honor. The Master Sergeant Tom Bartlett Award, named for the late managing editor of Leatherneck magazine and a leading Marine photojournalist, is given for superior writing pertinent to Marine Corps history during the preceding year by an enlisted writer in any medium. This year's recipient is Matt Coltwriter, who served as a sergeant in the Marine Corps for the article Don't Give Up the Ship, Why the Navy's Mantra Really Belongs to the Marines, published in Coffee or Die magazine. It tells the story of the Marines who served aboard the USS Chesapeake during the War of 1812. The Lieutenant William Broyles Award is named for the Vietnam veteran and screenwriter of Flags of Our Fathers, Jarhead, Apollo 13, Castaway, and Khe Sanh. It is given to a playwright or screenwriter for dramatic work dealing with U.S. Marine Corps heritage or Marine Corps life. This year's recipient is Francisco Martinez Coelho for his play Salsa Night, an Iraq war drama of a Dominican-American infantryman and a Haitian-American sergeant who, despite obvious differences and initial distrust, find a moment of connection, commonality, and even joy amidst loneliness and loss. The Sergeant Major Dan Daly Award was established in memory of the legendary recipient of 2 Medals of Honor. The award recognizes a distinguished example of still photography by an individual, in black and white or color, which consists of a collection of photographs capturing U.S. Marines or Marine Corps life. This year's recipient is Warrant Officer Cao Xiongye for Sangin, a collection of photographs taken while deployed as combat cameraman with 1st Battalion, 5th Marines in the Sangin district of Afghanistan from March to October 2011. The Robert A. Gannon Award is given for a distinguished volume of original verse by a Marine poet or dealing with Marine Corps life. This year's recipient is Mason Roderick for Rock Eater, a poetry collection written during and immediately after his enlistment in the Marine Corps as a machine gunner with the 1st Battalion, 6th Marines. The General Roy S. Geiger Award was established by Colonel G.F. Robert Hankey, United States Marine Corps Reserve, in memory of his father, Wing Commander Ralph Hankey, Royal Air Force. It is named for General Geiger, the 5th designated naval aviator in Marine Corps history, who commanded both air and ground units during World War II. The award is given to the author of the best article published during the preceding year in the field of Marine Corps aviation. This year's recipient is Nancy Lichtman, for the article A Career Filled with Adventure for Apollo 13's Fred Hayes, published in Leatherneck magazine, where the Marine veteran reflects on his remarkable career as a pilot and astronaut. The Sergeant William Gnaust Award is named for the motion picture cameraman who filmed the 1945 flag raising on Mount Suribachi shortly before he was killed in action on Iwo Jima. It is given for the best news story less than 40 minutes dealing with a Marine Corps-related event. This year's recipient is Corporal Moises Rodriguez for The Fight Against Landmines, a story of the landmines saturated on Thailand's borders from past conflicts and the advanced level training U.S. Marine Corps Explosive Ordnance Disposal offers Thai EOD technicians in order to build a self-sustaining mine action program. Here's a short clip from the story.
TMAC had its own tragedy. 4 of its D-miners were killed in a single blast while trying to defuse a landmine at Sakel, a short distance from here. Soon afterwards, another D-miner was killed.
Well, it's the same reason why we train our guys the way we train them, right? I'm going to give my guys everything I know. I'm going to teach them the best ways of doing things, the safest ways of doing things, so they can go back home to their families.
ไม่ได้นักเรียนไม่มีความเข้าใจนักเรียนไม่มีความชัดเจนในเนื้อหานักเรียนไม่สามารถที่จะแล้วเขาไปปฏิบัติงานแล้วเกิดอันตรายนั่นคือเป็นสิ่งที่มันทำให้เราความผิดพลาดของยิ่งใหญ่ที่สุดเหมือนของตัวเราเหมือนกันทำให้เรารู้สึกไม่ดีเหมือนกันทุกครั้งที่นักเรียนได้รับบาดเจ็บในการปฏิบัติงานรู้สึกไม่ดีทุกครั้งถึงพยายามที่จะพัฒนาตัวเองพัฒนาการเรียนการสอนให้มันดียิ่งขึ้นไป
the technicians had their hardest test yet, to safely disable hidden mines during their final assessment.
At the end of the day, they are going to be the guys on top of the item. They're going to be the guys on top of that landmine working it.
แต่ถ้าเรามีวิธีการที่มันดีกว่านะหรือมีประสบการณ์ที่มันได้เทคนิคที่มันดีกว่าเราก็สามารถนำไปใช้นำไปประยุกต์ใช้
Working with deadly explosives like these pose real threats and affect real people. The more tools and knowledge afforded to these technicians, the better their chance of survival and going home.
The General Wallace M. Greene Jr. Award is named for the 23rd Commandant of the Marine Corps, who during his distinguished Marine Corps career gave stature to the historical program as we know it today. He is a founding member of the Heritage Foundation. The award is given to the author of an outstanding nonfiction book pertinent to Marine Corps history published during the preceding 3 years. This year's recipient is Buzz Bissinger for The Mosquito Bowl, a book that weaves together such strands as the history of college football, the legacy of the Marine Corps as an institution, and the almost unimaginable death and destruction of the Battle of Okinawa. The Colonel Julia E. Hamblett Award is named for the longest-serving Director of Women Marines, funded by a bequest from the estate of Lotus Mort and judged by the Women Marines Association. It is given to the individual or team whose efforts have furthered and preserved or added to the history of women who have earned the title Marine. This year's recipient is Captain Mariah Kleenkey. Captain Kleenkey was chosen as the 2023 Hamblett Award winner, in large part to her first in United States Marine Corps history, becoming the first platoon commander of what was previously a closed military occupational specialty, amphibious assault. She has excelled at all levels and brings great credit to women Marines and to the WMA historical mission. The Major Norman Hatch Award is named for a Marine Corps icon and longtime friend of the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation. It is given for a documentary feature with a running time of more than 40 minutes, dealing creatively with U.S. Marine Corps heritage or Marine Corps life. An eligible documentary film is defined as a nonfiction motion picture photographed an actual occurrence. This year's recipient is David Neese Jr. for The Gift, a documentary film that tells the story of Medal of Honor recipient Corporal Jason Dunham and the Marines of Kilo Company, 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines. Here's the trailer from the documentary.
I think I fit it in there like that last time. My name's Aiden Dunham Dean. This is Jason Dunham. He was in the Marine Corps and he served with my dad, and he's a Medal of Honor recipient.
That was the first guy that we'd ever lost. He's my best friend. So I was angry. I was angry at a lot of things.
What would I have done different? I don't know. If I'd done anything different, I might not be here.
I love you, buddy.
I love you, Daddy.
On a dusty road in western Iraq, Corporal Dunham gave his own life so that the men under his command might live.
That bastard put his helmet over a damn grenade and jumped on top of it. Like it was beyond belief.
He not only talked about it, he practiced it. He cares so much about his Marines that he's going to practice protecting them by covering a grenade with his own helmet. Who does that?
Multiple casualties due to IED.
Where are they at? I need positive search.
Go get some. RPG team to our west. Roger to the west. 100 meters!
They're definitely close.
Oh, God.
Hey,
let's go!
Go!
The Colonel Robert D. Heinel Jr. Award is given in memory of the distinguished Marine Corps officer, journalist, and historian. He was a founder of the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation and author of Soldiers of the Sea. The award is given to the author of the best article pertinent to Marine Corps history published in a newspaper, magazine, journal, or other periodical during the preceding year. This year's recipient is Jonathan Bernstein for the article Atomic Leathernecks, Nuclear Rocket Artillery in the Cold War, published in Leatherneck magazine. The piece explores the unique subject matter of the Marine Corps' role in the nuclear defense of the nation. The Sergeant Major Bradley Castle Award is given for a distinguished example of a single still photograph by an individual which captures the character of the individual Marine or the core values of the United States Marine Corps. This year's recipient is Lance Corporal Sidney Jesse for the photograph U.S. Marines Participate in Martial Arts Instructor Course, which depicts a Marine amidst the brutal challenge of squat push-ups during a martial arts instructor course. The Colonel John Magruder Award is named for the first director of the Marine Corps Museum. It is given to an individual or an organization that makes available to the public an exhibit pertaining to Marine Corps history. The exhibit portrays panels, text, art, and/or artifacts at a traveling or fixed location. The exhibit must be displayed in the previous calendar year and be available to the public for a period of at least 6 months. This year's recipient is Lieutenant Colonel Nicholas Palmero, who is the project lead for the 4th Assault Amphibian Battalion's Heritage Room located in Tampa, Florida. With the help from a local Girl Scout troop, an old conference room was transformed into a heritage room for the unit's Marines to relax, reflect, learn, and strengthen their camaraderie amongst Marine Corps artifacts. The Major Megan McClung Award is named for the first female Marine Corps officer killed in combat during the Iraq War, where she was serving as a public affairs officer. The award is given for a distinguished example of reporting by an individual covering U.S. Marines abroad. This year's recipient is Dan Lamothe for the article For U.S. Troops Who Survived Kabul Airport Disaster, Guilt and Grief Endure, published in the Washington Post. The article examined the U.S. military's evacuation of Afghanistan, bringing special focus to the deadly bombing of Hamid Karzai International Airport, and gives voice to the Marines and Navy corpsmen who endured the terror and chaos that enveloped Kabul during the summer of 2021. The Eugene Sledge Award is named for the Marine Corporal, University Professor, and author of With the Old Breed at Peleliu in Okinawa, and is presented for the best Marine memoir published during the preceding 3 years. This year's recipient is Casey Tellison for Freaks of a Feather, a memoir focusing on his first deployment to Iraq in 2006 to the Haditha Triad with Golf Company, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines. The General Oliver P. Smith Award is named for the Commanding General of the 1st Marine Division in Korea, who through his steadfast leadership in the field created the circumstances for future viability and growth of the Marine Corps. The award is given for a distinguished example of local news reporting by an individual that illuminates the U.S. Marine Corps' relationship with local communities. This year's recipient is Russell Worth Parker for the article Render Safe, published in the Bitter Southerner. It shares the story of Master Gunnery Sergeant Chris Stowe, a remarkable EOD technician, Marine, and man who is helping save veterans through art. The Colonel John W. Thomason Jr. Award was established in memory of this decorated combat officer known for his artwork illustrating Marines in World War I, China, and Latin America. It is given for excellence in the fine or applied arts, including photography, in depicting the historic or contemporary Marine Corps. This year's recipient is Marcus Poole for a series of historical aviation oil paintings. These paintings helped fill a significant gap in the National Museum and the Marine Corps' combat art collection. The James Webb Award is named for the decorated Marine, author, Secretary of the Navy, and Senator, and is given for distinguished fiction dealing with U.S. Marines or Marine Corps life. This year's recipient is Mark Trainer for the novel A Quiet Cadence, the story of a young Marine in combat and dealing with its aftermath over the years since his war.
So congratulations again to each of our award recipients. You can find their full biographies listed in your program. At this time, and while we give them a round of applause again, I want to welcome the award winners back to the stage so we can do a group photo with everybody. So a round of applause for our entire group of award winners. And Commandant, if you could join us for this photo, please. Come on back up.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage General Gary Thomas, our chairman of the board, to introduce the Heritage Award, accompanied by Major General Lukeman.
It is my honor to present the Foundation's Heritage Award. The award is presented to an individual or team that has provided unique and significant service to the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation in the fulfillment of its mission. This year's Heritage Award goes to the former Secretary of the Navy, the Honorable Richard Spencer. Secretary Spencer is a 1976 graduate of Rollins College with a Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Upon graduation, he was commissioned in the United States Marine Corps and proudly served as a CH-46 pilot until 1981. After leaving active duty, Secretary Spencer worked on Wall Street for 16 years with responsibilities centered on investment banking services. He served as president of Crossroads Investment Management and then joined Intercontinental Exchange Incorporated as vice chairman and chief financial officer. Before being nominated as the Secretary of the Navy in the 2017, he was the managing director of Fall Creek Management. Secretary Spencer was sworn in as the 76th Secretary of the Navy on August 3, 2017, and served in that office until November 24, 2019. He also served as acting Secretary of Defense and performed the duties of the Deputy Secretary of Defense for several weeks in July 2019. He served on several corporate boards, the Defense Business Board, the Chief of Naval Operations Executive Panel, and he actively supports a variety of veterans organizations. But it is his service to the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation that I would like to highlight tonight. While serving on the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation Board from 2009 through 2017, his guidance and leadership in the execution of the capital campaign led to the completion of the final phase of the National Museum of the Marine Corps. Secretary Spencer and his fellow directors, some of whom are with us this evening, made the dream of telling the Marine Corps post-Vietnam history a reality. His steady hand, personal energy, and dynamic personality drove the efforts of the foundation during this critical period. Now, let's take a look at Secretary Spencer through the years. Ladies and gentlemen, in consideration of the lasting partnership and commitment to the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation, we are honored to present this award to the Honorable Richard Spencer.
Marines? Yeah, exactly. I think 161 is in the house tonight. Marines, ladies and gentlemen, I am both honored and humbled to be up here tonight. I'm humbled to think that I received this award, and I want to thank the judges who were involved and also the members of the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation. Totally honored to be in the ranks of those that have won this award before me, because at the end of the day, I'm simply standing on the shoulders of those who've gone before me, the likes of Walt Boomer, Rusty Blackman, Peter Kump, rest his soul. We're all great people who were charged with the same mission that we're all charged with involved in this organization, which is to continue the education of what we stand for. In 1998, I met Ron Christmas, and Ron Christmas said, we are going to build a museum for the Marines. And I'm thinking Quonset hut, red paint, yellow paint. Sounds great, General, let's do it. And in 2006, when we opened the doors to this amazing establishment, I was gobsmacked. And it was a pleasure to be asked to come on the board and continue the funding of the organization, which we all did as a team. And why did we do it? We did it so old Marines like me can come in here and be a Marine, for current Marines to come in here and recharge, and for future Marines to come here and be educated. So for that, I thank the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation for the honor to wear this little ribbon around my neck. God bless our Marine Corps.
Congratulations, Richard. Our thanks to you and Polly for your dedication and commitment to our mission. Thank you. Now it's my distinct honor to announce our Lieutenant General John A. Lejeune Recognition for Exemplary Leadership. The Foundation established this honor as a way to recognize individuals who have demonstrated leadership in their chosen profession or appointed or elected position that is clearly exemplary and worthy of emulation. The recipient must epitomize the core values of honor, courage, and commitment, and practice the leadership traits and principles ascribed to by General Lejeune and the United States Marine Corps. This year's Lejeune Recognition goes to Sergeant Thomas Brennan. Thomas is the founder of the War Horse, an award-winning nonprofit newsroom reporting on the human impact of military service. He fought in the Second Battle of Fallujah and later suffered a traumatic brain injury on a foot patrol in Afghanistan's Helmand province. After being medically retired, journalism became his next chance to serve. He founded the War Horse and used his talent as a journalist to deliver reporting on the human impact of military service and bring public attention to the invisible and moral wounds of war. The War Horse has been a powerful voice for the military community, covering topics of critical importance with a keen focus on mental health. The War Horse's writing seminars help military and civilian journalists, as well as family members, find their voices in addressing topics of importance to the military community and to the nation. I'd like to direct everyone's attention to the screens to watch a clip about our recipient.
My journey really started with a photograph that was taken by Finbar O'Reilly. His story covering the day that 4 of us were wounded. They're the only reason I can remember the worst day of my life. Those photos helped me come to terms with my own experiences, and they helped me find closure in my own injuries. One day when I was in therapy, my therapist handed me a notebook and told me to write. That notebook turned into a letter to Finbar thanking him for his photos, and then that wound up getting published with the New York Times and showed the world what his photographs did for me and my Marines.
I was reading a war blog in the New York Times, and I saw a piece by Thomas Brennan, and I felt that I wanted to help him somehow, and I just contacted him out of the blue, and I found out he was starting this organization called the War Horse.
Right now, no newsroom exists to cover the largest issues that are facing the military and veteran community, and the War Horse is determined to fill that void. We made the deliberate decision to make our first story a killed in action profile. It was about Staff Sergeant Javier Ortiz Rivera. It was a death overseas that really shook our unit to its core. We're not going to have the conversation we need to be having about war until we talk about the human impact that war has.
And he said, "Hi, Mommy." He said, "Am I going home early?"
And at first I thought he was going to surprise me by coming home.
And I said, "No, buddy, I need you to sit here with me for a second."
When I was wounded in combat, it wasn't just me as an infantryman that had been hurt. My mother was hurt by me being hurt in combat. War almost drove my wife and I apart. I've lost Marines to suicide, and I think that all of that was captured within Javier's story. Our next story after Javier's was writing about a Medal of Honor recipient who had jumped on a grenade and survived.
I had already been through, say, 20 surgeries. I knew I had 20 or so to go, and I knew I was going to be in the hospital for 3 years.
The overwhelming response that we received was that people found hope.
I've had Marines come up to me and tell me I didn't kill myself because of your story, because of you.
Since 2016, our team has educated the public on military service, war and its impact by ensuring those most affected by war have a prominent voice in the national conversation. So this is our 4th writing seminar. This time it's for combat medics and corpsmen, and it creates a safe space for them to be honest about their experiences and hopefully write something that will allow one of our readers to connect with their story and feel less alone in the long run.
They are volunteering their time to be here. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalists, you're going to be bureau chiefs. They believe that you have a story to share that's worth telling and that's worth people reading.
I've had the good fortune to be involved in 3 of the seminars as a coach and a mentor to some of the veterans. The group that's here this week, they have survivor's guilt, but they've helped save people's lives. And by telling their stories, they're healing each other, but also these stories are relevant to a broader society.
What Thomas and what the War Horse are doing by giving this generation of veterans a voice and by actually educating people on the true cost of war is priceless.
Thomas's important work with mental health in the military, founding the War Horse, and his role in key military-themed discussions shows distinct leadership in his field. He exemplifies how Marines can continue to serve our country and have an impact beyond their time in the Marine Corps. I'm honored to present the Lieutenant General John A. Lejeune Recognition for Exemplary Leadership to the first enlisted Marine ever to receive it, Sergeant Thomas Brennan.
Thankfully, the lights are bright and I can't see how many people are out here. Thank you, Major General Lukeman, and to the Board of Directors of the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation for this incredible honor, and to General Berger, Sergeant Major Black, and the other distinguished guests here that are in the audience for joining us tonight. I'd also like to congratulate my fellow recipients for all of your incredible work. I'd also like to highlight that 3 of them are Warhorse writers, so congratulations to you all. I'd also like to thank my friends and my family who are here with me tonight. They represent a mix of both worlds that I've lived in. I have Marines who I served with in Iraq and Afghanistan. I also have advisors and my team here from the Warhorse. I'm also joined by my parents, my in-laws, and my wife and daughter. I love you all. Thank you for never giving up on me. As the first enlisted recipient of the General John A. Lejeune Award, I recognize the significance of this occasion and the responsibility that this award brings. Tonight, we're gathered in a stunning building that is full of stories that were told by journalists and historians who were willing to risk, and some who lost their lives, to tell the stories of Marines and Corpsmen. Men and women who were willing to make sacrifices and face adversity with courage and determination. 2 weeks ago, I walked these halls with General Lukeman, and I toured the combat artist area that was recently opened. I also stared down on Fallujah for the first time in 20 years. The intricate metal work of the windows caught my eye, and I immediately thought of the Marines that I'd served with. People like Lieutenant Daniel Malcolm, people like Lance Corporal Bradley Faircloth, and as I looked at those windows, I instantly imagined shouldering my small rocket again. Before Phantom Fury began in 2004, I stood with my team leader, Corporal Mike Ergo, and one of my best friends, Lance Corporal Daniel Jane, both here tonight. Together, we listened to our battalion commander tell us to expect heavy casualties, and then we listened to Sergeant Major Carlton Kent give his famous whoop butt speech. Days later, as we pushed house to house, we were shocked when Sergeant Major Kent joined us on patrol, and we all worried we'd get the incoming Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps killed. But what Corporal Ergo and Sergeant Major Kent did unknowingly was they cemented in our minds that good leaders are willing to take point on the most dangerous missions. In 2010, their lessons proved priceless as I was deployed to Helmand Province, where I led a squad of Marines. For some reason, my lieutenant, Chris Alderman, allowed me to lead my ragtag band of misfits. Earning their trust has been the greatest honor of my life. I loved leading Marines, and I loved my squad. My favorite memory is us eating dinner in Afghanistan. We were huddled around a campfire, and it broke all the rules. I got to be TJ, Roche got to be Jim, Moon got to be Dustin, Chun was John, and Huber was the guy who would do anything for $20. We talked about life back home, and we ate Kunjak chicken, and together we escaped our reality for a few moments a day. And like Jim would say every time he dug up an IED, it was a real treat. But when four of us were wounded, I lost my sense of purpose. And when members of my chain of command turned their back on me, my love for the Marine Corps started to fade. Thankfully, my mental health team and my family helped me find my way home. And while it may have been my therapist, Frank, who handed me a notebook, and Doc Smullen, who told me to keep writing, it was a bougie award-winning journalist from Reuters who inspired my passion for public service journalism. Tonight, Finbar O'Reilly is somewhere in Ukraine, probably on a foot patrol or strapped to the side of a tank. And like my squad in Afghanistan, the troops by his side are lucky to have him there. As my team and I have grown the Warhorse, the Corps and what I learned in uniform has never left my side. Having walked on both sides of the fence as a Marine and now as a reporter, I learned that journalists, Marines, and our families have more in common than most of us realize. Together, we're largely understood by the communities we serve. And while it may be in different ways, we all play a vital role in our democracy. Over the years, journalism has allowed me to share the stories of Marines. Ones like Max Krivelar, who served in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, and who was the first Marine to tell me that coming home from combat takes patience and showing yourself some grace. I've also chronicled the stories of Montford Pointers and POWs, Vietnam veterans who were poisoned by Agent Orange, and I'm grateful to say that our team has earned the trust of leaders in DoD and VA, as well as trailblazers like Corporal Maria Daume, who was the first enlisted infantrywoman. But the Warhorses also use sunlight as a disinfectant, and I'm proud to have done so. Whether these investigations have explored sexual violence or failures in the Marine Corps' criminal justice system, I am drawn to giving voice to the individual Marine, and I keep in mind the standard that was set by General Lejeune. The relation between officers and enlisted should in no sense be that of superior and inferior, nor that of master and servant, but rather that of teacher and scholar, he wrote in 1920. Be kindly and just in your dealings with your enlisted Marines. Never play favorites. Make them feel as though justice tempered with mercy may always be counted on. As an enlisted Marine, I witnessed that Marines are capable of the best and worst leadership traits. Demanding answers for the latter does not negate the former. I've never considered speaking up about mental health, founding the Warhorse, or any of my reporting as bold leadership. And as I've prepared for today, I've reflected on my body of work. What I hope that others see when they look at me is a career in public service that started as a Marine recruit, and that reporting is another way that I still get to protect Marines. The Marine Corps taught me to challenge the status quo, to know myself and seek self-improvement. And the Warhorse team has helped to make measurable, positive differences in our Marine Corps and the military more broadly. And I hope, more than anything, my work demonstrates that it's possible to love the Marine Corps and to want its leaders to do better for its Marines and their families. I ask leaders tough questions because I understand the stakes. I've laced up my boots and I've kicked in the doors. I've been willing to lay down my life for some leaders, and I've reluctantly followed others. I've lost Marines to bad luck and to bad decisions. And like too many Marines, I've witnessed the impacts of the justice system on unit cohesion, and decades later have watched them fight to piece together their lives because of it. I have lived and contributed to the good, the bad, and the ugly within our ranks. And like the Marine Corps and some of its leaders, I have grown and improved with time. But there's still work to be done. Like many of the service members and families that we reported on the Warhorse, we believe that there are tangible solutions to our country's biggest problems, and that we can help veterans and military families be better understood by the communities that they serve. And we can help keep our Corps' honor clean. In closing, I would like to read a quote from General Lejeune's first letter as Commandant, dated 100 years ago, and edited to reflect the contributions of women Marines. It applies not only to the Marine Corps, but to the journalism industry and our society more broadly. You should never forget the power of example. The young men and women serving as enlisted Marines take their cue from you. If you conduct yourselves at all times as officers should conduct themselves, the moral tone of the whole Marine Corps will be raised. Its reputation, which is most precious to us all, will be enhanced, and the esteem and affection in which the Corps is held by the American people will be increased. Thank you all for your time, and thank you again for this truly incredible honor. I believe that I've represented enlisted Marines and our Marine Corps well. Semper Fidelis.
Thank you, Thomas, for accepting this award and for continuing your service to our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the program will resume shortly. We're going to have dessert first, so please enjoy that. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor To introduce our military guest of honor for the evening, the 38th Commandant of the Marine Corps, General David H. Berger.
I suppose if you were not a Marine, you probably came here expecting an awards dinner like the program says. But if you are a Marine, you knew damn well this was going to be a family reunion. And it's turned out to be a family reunion. Just look around for just a moment at the tables around you. The age difference from Lance Corporal to World War II veteran in one room. In one room. I don't know how many generations of Marines that is, but pretty amazing to be here tonight. And thank you, Jim, for making this possible. Sergeant Major and I get a lot of invitations, of course, as a lot of you do. This is one you don't hesitate to say yes on. And we're here in the museum, as you pointed out, which is where we reflect on our heritage, and the Secretary said it best. I think the great part is, though, in a family reunion of Marines, the family is bigger than just those who've earned the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, and it's really fun to be in this crowd tonight. A couple of thank yous up front, and I won't go through the whole list, but two of my friends and mentors, both Jim Lukeman and Gary Thomas, thank you very much for everything that you do for this organization. Marines around the world are better off for what the two of you do. And thank you for bringing our heritage to life, improving on it somehow every week. It's amazing to me. And really hosting events like this where the rest of America can see their Marine Corps and their Marines. It's what it's all about. Jim's thanked already, he has thanked the Heritage Foundation folks, but somewhere in here is Rebecca. I saw her earlier. I don't know where she is, and Jennifer. Those two stand out to me every year, and can you please join me in thanking those two in particular? I'm sitting at a table with my former boss, the Honorable Richard Spencer. We served together for a few months. He is my biggest mentor and my biggest coach. If you saw him walk around the Pentagon, well, you saw the pictures, right? Never had a tie on, never had a jacket on purpose. And I didn't know him beforehand, and I didn't recognize him actually walking down the hall, the passageway of the Pentagon. And then he taught me the first week or two, this is how he operates. Sleeves rolled up, no jacket, no tie, on purpose, so that he doesn't stand out and he can walk into, well, you saw how he was. He reminded me in the first 2 weeks when I became commandant that he told me, Dave, we don't have an all-volunteer force. We have an all-recruited force. You told me that. I've never forgotten that. Thank you for your mentorship. Thank you for your leadership. Congratulations. Thomas Brennan. Would have been so easy for you to stop 100 times before tonight. Thank you for showing the rest of the Marines, from me to the most junior Marine wearing the uniform, that it's possible to push on and it's possible to keep giving. Thank you, sir. Thank you for making an example. You saw in him, there's no way I can follow him, right? But he and every other Marine that Sergeant Major Black and I and all the rest of you get to work around, Marines are audacious, they're in your face, they're aggressive, they always have been. But none of them lost track ever of where they came from. Puts us back here in the museum. Tonight, I've been asked to give you a state of the Corps. I won't take very long doing that. But I owe you a couple words. And first, I'm just going to describe the world that we live in right now. If you close your eyes and imagine halfway around the globe from us, you have a country in China that's trying to change the world order that's been in place since World War II. And every day, senior leaders worry that 2 jets are going to collide or 2 ships are going to collide or something's going to go wrong. Just below them, on their border, North Korea, of course, hell-bent to get a nuclear missile capability. And they have fired more missiles in the past 60 days than they had in the past 4 years. Nothing seems to slow them down. And they are destabilizing the whole, not just the peninsula, but the whole region. And if you move forward maybe a quarter of the way around the globe from them, Iran, also intent on getting a nuclear weapons capability, and above them, of course, Ukraine, right? Who most people thought that would last maybe a week, 10 days. Remarkable, the resilience of the Ukrainian people and the military, both. It's amazing. And then you look down below it, and 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, great example in Sudan of the challenges, and General Waldhauser is here in the room. No one knows that continent, at least in my opinion, better than him. That from economic challenges to starvation to disease to civil wars, it's a real challenge on that continent, and we had to evacuate our embassy a week and a half ago or a week ago. But here's the good side, right? There's Marines, right? It's Marines. Earlier this week, Sergeant Major and I came down here to Quantico, which is the home of Embassy Security Guard School. This is where we train all the Marines who go to all the embassies around the world. And we spent an hour just listening to a staff sergeant and 12 Marines who were in Khartoum 48 hours before that. You all would be so proud of those Marines. One staff sergeant, all the rest, corporals, sergeants, lance corporals, protecting our embassy, destroying all the classified information, basically calming down 72 diplomats and 15 other people and getting them on V-22s. And at the end of the day, the last thing that they did, which is what you would expect them to do, hoist down the flag, fold it, and hand it to the ambassador. And the last person to get on an aircraft, U.S. Marine, right behind the ambassador. They're just amazing. They always have been. Your Marines are around the globe. This morning, if you're the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps or me, you get a daily, and many of the other leaders in here, you get a daily sit rep like every morning. This morning there are a little bit more than 38,000 Marines who are deployed or forward stationed, away from their families. 38,000. That's what keeps this country safe. But they are doing exactly what they want to do, what they volunteered to do. They're in 52 countries while we're sitting here having dinner. Marines in 52 countries. They are well trained, they are well led, they are ready. There's Marines in the Philippines right now just finishing up an exercise with the Philippine Marines. To say that this year's a little bit bigger exercise, I would say way understatement. Last year there were 9,000 soldiers and Marines in this exercise. This evening while we're having dinner, 18,000. 18,000. And the Marines from Hawaii, where some of you all served and trained, flew their Ospreys from Hawaii to the Philippines. No one else on the planet can do that. No one else but Marines. You said you visited the Marines in Darwin, Mr. Secretary. 2,200 Marines in Darwin, Australia. We have also a little bit more than 2,000 Marines in Europe right now on Marine Rotational Force Europe. They're in Norway and Finland and Sweden and Estonia and Latvia and Naples. They are spread across Europe. It's an amazing thing to watch. And in Africa, where the problems were in Sudan, you all have 2 KC-130 refuelers and a squadron of MV-22s that works for General Langley. That is his 911 force, because they're Marines. They're where they need to be, exactly where the nation needs them to be. Thomas quoted the 13th Commandant, General Lejeune. You can't get any better than that. He said it best, as you pointed out. He made clear to us that you don't just rest on your laurels just because you were good before. More than the mission depends on the ability of Marines to bring those successes back to the American people, and that's what you pointed out. It was a bold statement when he made it. It's a bold statement today. Our legacy, in other words, is just one part of winning battles. Mostly, it's the men and women who wear the eagle, globe, and anchor. They wear the title, and their stories, which live in this building. And you look around here and the faces on the walls around us tonight. Then you see the people on the stage up here earlier. Some of them historians, some of them painters, a poet, a photographer, people who write articles, who write books, tell stories. All of that, to me, is part of our legacy. And I am so grateful for all of you all capturing the human part of what it is to become a Marine and what it is to serve as a Marine. Sometimes I think we take that for granted, that everybody knows who the Marines are. Everybody knows about Marines, of course. Floyd Gibbons. I've never heard the name before. Probably most of you all hadn't either. Floyd Gibbons. He captured the Teufelhundrum of the Marines in World War I, and if we didn't have what he wrote down, we might never know that. That was Bella Wood. Never knew his name before. Joe Rosenthal, most of you all know. But what if he hadn't captured that iconic flag raising on Iwo Jima? What if he didn't capture that moment? We would have won the battle, but we would not be where we are today. I wish I was around sometimes when that picture was in the newspapers in 1945, because that told America we could win. That was victory, right? That we could win. But today, it's a symbol, it's a representation of Marines and what we have come to be known for. Most of you all have seen The Pacific. We wouldn't have that documentary if it wasn't for E.B. Sledge, right? We watched it on television, but somebody captured it. A Marine captured it. He had the stories. They told what the greatest generation did for you and me. I love Tom Calvin's book. Probably half of you all have read that in here. It's about Fox Company in the Chosin Reservoir. Captures Bill Barber's company and what happened there. We wouldn't know that if he hadn't have written that book. I think for me, growing up, Vietnam was sort of the first time that combat came into our living rooms. We actually could see war a little bit through a camera. I watched, when I was a kid, I watched the scenes, and some of you all served there, from Tet and Hue and Saigon and the pullout and Khe Sanh, and it was on the news at night. And Walter Cronkite and the other people told us about it. And the graphic images were right in front of us. We have Colonel Charles Waterhouse, an amazing artist. He has a sketchbook, which if you've never seen it, captures Vietnam better than anything I've ever seen before or since. But for me, he captures the human side. I don't think it was really until the global war of terror, though, and I'm talking about mainly Iraq and Afghanistan, that really war took on a more personal, and Thomas captured it better than anyone could attempt to, the personal part of combat up close. But we wouldn't know that if it wasn't for Thomas. We wouldn't know it if we hadn't read Generation Kill, right? These were it brought it right into your wheelhouse. Have you ever seen the picture of Marlboro Man? It just sticks in your brain, right? You can see Marines on routine patrols. You can see them in a building. You can see them in a landing zone. He described them playing cards, having chow, the intimate moments that Marines know, that you all up here on the stage capture for us. Marines know that. And for those who weren't there, with Thomas, he helps us get there. It's amazing. And if you've been there before, as described, if you've been there, this place, this museum, and all of the products, everything that these folks generate brings us right back there, right back into it. This is the Marine breed. This is who we are. And the world, I think, needs to be reminded of that. You wonder, when they're standing up here, what the stories they'll tell next week, next month. What will that be about? I don't think we'll ever know where the next combat is, but we will tell the stories. These folks will capture that for us. I think the actions in peacetime, right now, today, they help define our preparation for war tomorrow, and they're capturing it now, every day, every week, in their photos, in their articles, in their books. It's amazing because they're telling the stories. You saw them up here of Marines in 2023. Imagine what happens in 5 and 10 years. They will be the ones, those Marines will be the ones that keep the Chinese at bay. They will be the ones that respond to the next crisis. They're training now, they will be ready. They're the best our nation has. They're our brothers and sisters in arms, and they are our first line of defense. And they're all volunteers. Just like every generation of Marine who came before, the stories, I think, of Marines tomorrow are going to resonate in this museum. So I hope tonight, when you get in your car and you drive home and you brush your teeth and you put your head down on your pillow, that you understand that tonight, not just Marines, but the people who tell the stories of Marines are all part of our family. They don't just tell our stories. They bring those stories to life. And me, for one, I look forward to the day when the halls of this museum, they have the faces of this generation. The Lance Corporal who's up here on the stage. Thank you. Thank you for the award winners for using your unique talents to memorialize our Marines. Thank you for the donors who made this evening possible. Thank you for the foundation for capturing all of that. Semper Fidelis. Have a great evening.
General Berger, thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for taking the time to be with us tonight. And thank you for your exemplary leadership of the Marine Corps. And Donna, thanks for all you do as well for Marines and their families. Thank you both. I want to thank once again the awardees for joining us this evening and helping the Foundation continue to preserve and share the history, traditions, and culture of the Marine Corps. Our thanks to every one of you, our guests. We thank you for your continued support, and we look forward to keeping you informed of the Foundation and the museum's progress, this home for all Marines. I thank you all for coming this evening. Have a safe trip home. Good night and Semper Fidelis. Thank you.